How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of The Extra Yard. This is a new show we're starting up here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. This is going to be kind of an open forum for us to discuss between ourselves what we thought about the previous Dolphins game, the next Dolphins game, other NFL things, and we're also going to have it live as often as we can so that you guys can ask questions in the comments. We can try to address those as best we can. This serves as an extension to the 3 Yards Per Carry podcast. Make sure you guys go check that out. That's going to be Alfredo Arteaga, Chris Kaufman, and Simon Clancy. You can find them on any of your favorite podcasts, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Podbean, whatever it is you guys like to listen on. Definitely go check that out. But without further ado, my name is Michael Christian. I'm joined by Kai and Juan. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good, bro. How are you doing?
Good. Kai?
I'm great. I got this in the mail from my Secret Santa today. Wanted to make sure to show it off.
Yo,
that's awesome.
So
that's lit.
I'm living life right now, you know?
For sure.
Gotta hang it up, but I'm chilling.
Oh, that looks so great. Okay, so what's your address again so that I can steal it? Just want to
For real.
get that. But yeah, so this show, like I said, we're going to cover mostly Dolphins. So it's going to be Dolphins for at least half of the show. But then after that, we're going to have kind of open discussions where we want to talk about fantasy football, what's going on around the league, what's going on with Lamar Jackson's bowel movements. Kind of
it's IV.
Man, listen, that was a Paul Pierce move, and we all know it.
Yeah,
absolutely a Paul Pierce move. But because they are the number one team in our hearts and in our minds, we're going to talk about the Dolphins first. We had that big game against the Kansas City Chiefs this last Sunday. It did not end up as we would have wanted. I think all of us would have wanted to win, but we can all walk away pretty happy from that game because we had a really competitive game against the best team in the league. If you base it on the fact that they won the Super Bowl last year, their offense is looking great. The defense is doing pretty well. What were your guys' biggest takeaways from that game this past Sunday?
Juan, do you want to go first? You want me to tackle it?
Go ahead, bro. Knock them out.
One of the biggest takeaways, and I kind of mentioned it with Austin Robillard, who filled in for Ethan on Monday on Onside Radio, was, and I know that this is so basic to say, and like especially like after like having that up and everything, dudes in the top right corner of our screen, it's just like I was glad that, and especially I know Juan knows because we had a little bit of back and forth. Talking about some people who were saying stuff like this, but it's like finally, Dolphin fans can just be like, listen, like, please see the light. If there needs to be a spark, just trust that it's gonna come. Like, stop wanting Fitzpatrick. Like, it's over. Like, I know that there's a lot of takeaways to get from that, but one of the things that I've just been hating to see is the constant like, need a spark or Ryan Fitzpatrick. Tua's looking bad. Put in Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's like, dude, the dude's a rookie quarterback. I don't know
every bad drive, every halftime that we're down, any moment where Tua makes a bad throw. Oh, we should get Fitzpatrick in the game.
It's just one of those things where it's like we were. I can't say we because I mentioned this a lot. I was a Herbert guy, but only just because of injury stuff with Tua. It wasn't like, oh, I think Herbert's better. But like. Dolphins fans were so excited to get Tua, like so excited, and to see some of them who I saw like essentially burning me at the stake for being concerned about injuries, all of a sudden turn around and want to put Ryan Fitzpatrick in is like mind blowing. But obviously, like to come back in the way that they did in the fourth quarter and to put up points and to make it a game. I mean, you could say early on the safety, the special teams touchdown, like you still in total held the Chiefs to 24 points in terms of their offense. Like obviously they scored 33, but that's the touchdown plus the safety. Like you held probably the greatest offense that we're going to see for the next decade to 24 points with a great defense, and you put yourself in a position to win. The offense was lacking behind, but the fact that they caught up and they made it the game that it was in the first 2 quarters was nice to see, and it just shows resilience. And it's just one of those things where, again, as much as some Dolphins fans might not like it, and I had mentioned it on Monday, it's like that famous Bill Belichick saying on to Cincinnati. It's just like, all right, on to New England. Like, just like how they were acting every week, they start 0-0, like they're still 0-0. And there's a lot that we'll cover down the line with the playoff stuff and everything like that. But it's like, you saw the team show their resilience. You saw them be the team that we thought that they were. And it's like, okay, they're not going to get blown out. It's not like how we get blown out every single time by the Ravens for some odd reason. It was like, finally, okay, you might have lost. We might be upset like that you lost because you're always upset that you lost. So it's like, all right, at least you were competitive against by far the best team in the NFL right now.
Absolutely. Juan, before we go, we know you've got your stock report on all the players and stuff. We're going to hit on that after. But what was your biggest takeaway, whether it's a giant scheme thing or any one player that stood out? What was the number one thing you got from Sunday's game?
Tua will make everybody around him better. Period. No matter who he was. I mean, at some point he threw, I think, 9 targets to Mac Hollins.
Yeah, I think that was
like Mac Hollins got 9 targets. Like I'm gonna repeat that just because that's saying something. And I understand, we're at this point, we're just who we have out there is who we have out there. But before, predominantly the excuse with Tannehill was, oh well, we don't have an O-line. Oh, well, we have to get him receivers. Or well, Mike Wallace and him, you have to get in sync. He doesn't know how to throw a deep ball. But I mean, there's no excuses with Tua, man. And if he does have a bad game like he had in Denver, he'll be the first one to sit up there in the podium and eat it.
Right.
He'll tell you right to your face, yeah, you know what? There's plenty of throws where I know I could have done better. There's sacks that I know I should have taken, and he owns up to it. And ultimately, I think that does a lot for the team, as far as morale. But just getting back to the actual game, one thing that I do want to harp on is our ability to really kind of just maintain Mahomes. Like I don't want to say like held him down, but I don't remember a game where it was so like rough for him. Like he almost had 400 yards passing, but it wasn't an easy 400 yards. Like we made him work. Yeah. And not for nothing too, but it was a game of runs. We started up 10-0, then they go on a 30-point run, and then it's 30-10 going into the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And then we rip our run. So if that fourth down where they threw it to who was it? I believe it was Tyreek on Byron Jones. If they don't get that fourth down, I think we come back. I think we have a chance to at least tie it up, and then whatever happens after that happens after that. Yeah,
for sure. I found it really interesting that you mentioned the Tua making everyone else better because I've been on the Tua bandwagon for well over a year now. To be honest, it was really from the 3 Yards per Carry podcast, and I'm not just saying that since we're an extension of them. I knew who Tua was, right? I'd seen the national game and all this stuff, but they were like, "Oh, we got to go get him. He's the real deal." So I'm like, oh, "Let me watch some film, see what's going on." Then I watched the Elite 11 or whatever he did with Trent Dilfer back when he was in high school.
Yeah.
Listen, man, Tua's such a nice guy, just blew me away. And then he has the Hawaiian Samoan background, and my wife has like part Hawaiian in her as well. So I was like, all the pieces are lined up. I got to be all in. But coming in, everybody was talking about how Tua is, he's his receivers, right? Right. If you watched last season and you followed him at Alabama, it was a lot of quick slants because that's what worked, right? Those guys were really good at it, and it worked. But everybody said, if he doesn't have those receivers, what is Tua going to do? He's nothing without them, right? They're first-round talents in college. Once he gets to the NFL, it'll be different. He lost. I think Adam Beasley tweeted it out. He lost the top 8 yard getters on that offense, and they still found a way to move the ball downfield, get points when they needed to. It was just really awesome to see him kind of lift everyone else up because it gives you hope for the future where you're saying, if he's lifting these guys up now, imagine when he has a full team. It just kind of blows you away. But my biggest takeaway actually kind of segues with your second point, Juan, which is that game of runs, right? Where we were down 30-10. I was a little bit shocked that the defense didn't give up. And I only say that because I'm a lifelong Dolphins fan, and there's been so much misery in what we've gone through, right? And I'm also a Canes fan, right? And I just watched the Canes get demolished, right? And I saw that team give up. And I'm used to when adversity hits and it just kind of starts mounting, you watch the effort kind of die down on the field and they say, okay, on to the next one.
Yep.
And this defense never did that, which they very easily could have. When you're down 30-10 after a safety, the defense is constantly having to be out there, and the offense wasn't really helping them much, right? So they could have sat there and been like, "Oh, the offense sucks. Why should we even try?" This team fights hard. They never give up. It's really fantastic to see guys like Byron Jones play well, Andrew Van Ginkel, Xavier Howard,
AVG.
A lot of great individual performances. But I think that segues nicely into our next point. So, Juan, you usually put out a stock report on the Dolphins week after week. What did your stock report say for the Dolphins this week?
I definitely said that out of the players that really trended up, the one that really caught my attention going into the game, and I actually dropped a one-on-one analysis of him was I'm gonna call him LBJ just to get it going, but it's Lynn Bowden Jr. Um, call it what you want. Maybe I have a little man crush on him. I don't know, but he reminds me of a more explosive like Devon Best, where you can rely on him on third downs. You can get him the ball. He'll make the first man miss. And as of now, we haven't seen too much more after that. At the end of the game, he did have a 22-yard gain, which I loved. And it's just to see more of, especially coming up this week with the injuries that we're going to have to talk about in a little bit. I don't know if you guys want to comment on that.
I haven't heard the name Devon Best in so long. I remember watching Devon Best, right? And I remember when he was like our receiver, right? He was that middle of the field guy, and then we kind of upgraded that to Jarvis Landry, right? And Jarvis Landry became our slot, and he was just a tougher, better receiver than Devon Best, honestly. But I loved Best and watching him play and watching him get open. That's a really good comparison. I hadn't thought about that one. But yeah, LBJ is he's playing like a Swiss Army knife. My biggest knock on him right now is when you're gonna do a fake pass, maybe fake it a little bit better, dude. Like, he just kind of grabs the ball and immediately looks up.
He was ready to throw it. He was too excited. You
gotta chill a little bit, like make the defense think you're gonna run. Yep. But no, he played really well. I know that whenever we do have a fantasy show, we'll talk about him more. So if you're playing fantasy in a dynasty league or something, he's definitely worth a pickup. But who else do you have?
In some leagues, sorry, just to add to that, in some leagues he's a wide receiver and a running back, so it'll help out long term. You know.
Sorry, Kai, you can get the comment on LBJ.
No, sorry, I had something that I had to get into. It's LBJ, man. That's something I chuckled at the first time. I was like, man, really called him LeBron. Like, really said LeBron James. That's like when they were trying to call LaDainian Thomas an LT. It's like, bro, the real LT played for the Giants.
Well, hey, now we've got Melo. We've got new Melo in the NBA too. It pisses me off, but
start that. Anyway, so like, what's funny is Lynn Bowden Jr. I feel like was one of those guys that was really weird that it happened, right? Like when we think about it, it's like they drafted him in the third round, the Las Vegas Raiders. Almost slipped up and called them Oakland, actually, as a matter of fact. The Raiders drafted him in the third round of the draft this year. Then they tried to convert him to a running back. And then from that, they just didn't like what they saw. And essentially, he was a part of the Raekwon McMillan trade, even though he wasn't, just because, let's be real, those trades. I mean, I think we got a fourth from them and then gave the fourth back for Lynn Bowden, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. Like, we essentially gave them their pick back and Raekwon McMillan for Lynn Bowden. And it was one of those things that I think a lot of us were mentioning, like him and Malcolm Perry were going to be those guys that we were going to look at and be like, all right, whenever Tua is in, like, this is going to be great because he's going to be the guys that he's going to love to throw to. And of course we saw, and then interesting, Mac Hollins is another guy that he's throwing to a lot, which is just funny to me. But as we mentioned, I'm like, not that, I mean, I was one of those things in week 3.
Ace. Like, that's what we signed him for.
In week 3, I was just like, why the hell is Mac Hollins still on this team? And there's times where I was looking at it and like, now look,
imagine not having him now.
Yeah, for real.
What, didn't he catch Tua's first touchdown?
No, it was Devontae.
So.
It was Devontae.
But he caught in
one.
the Cardinals game.
In the Cardinals game.
A really nice touchdown. One that people have been roasting this dude on Twitter who's like, I asked a scout if Tua could do this and whatever.
I saw that.
Stupidity, absolute stupidity.
QB Neal, that's the only thing. QB Neal, can Justin Herbert QB Neal? That's my only thing.
I saw that too.
But it's just like to see that they're kind of getting things going, especially, and we'll get into it more, like with, as you mentioned, the skill players going down a lot, like the top skill players. It's awesome to see because you can only hope for the best. And the fact that he's taking his opportunity, and I remember kind of not as in we were going to trade him or anything, but there was a lot of stuff that was being talked about. He made his Twitter private for a while, so if you weren't following him, you wouldn't be able to see, like, he protected his tweets essentially, and a lot of people were getting upset because he would tweet stuff when he was inactive. Not like a lot, but there were some things that he would do. So now seeing him kind of get on is really great. It also just further solidifies that, for me at least this season, or I guess maybe down the road, I'm not going to get my ultra dream of seeing Antonio Callaway catch a Tua Tagovailoa touchdown. So it's whatever. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, bro.
I can live with it.
Juan? Who's the next player you got?
All right, so another stock up player that I definitely was very excited about was, and you touched on it, Mike, was AVG. So that interception I had seen, because when we do the live stream, I don't really go on Twitter too much. One, to prevent the headaches, and two, just because I'm trying to focus on live stream.
Yeah,
but I saw that people were calling that first interception a fluke. And I had to go back and actually do the tape and record it and post it, because AVG got blocked by 2 into the ground.
Yep.
Then he popped up to tip that pass for then Eric Rowe to go ahead and stiff arm the living lights out of Tyreek Hill. And then also, like, I didn't even know this, but that fumble that Patrick Mahomes had, not a fumble, but he dropped it and then he ended up recovering himself. Andrew Van Ginkel ended up getting a tackle for loss. I thought that would have been a sack, but go to show.
I think because it's a fumble. I think since it's a fumble, that's why they call it that way.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, AVG was nuts, man. Like, I watched that play and I genuinely thought I was watching a Madden glitch. Right?
Yeah,
like, I thought I was seeing some sort of video game, because he's on the ground and he just like pops back up, right? And I've seen that happen in the games where somebody like kind of starts to trip, but then some animation takes over, so it's like teleport back up to get next to the ball.
Classic Madden. Hey, that's
Like,
classic Madden 16, and we're in 2020.
16.
Man,
listen, no, that's classic Madden 21, bro. The
but you get what I'm saying
is
we're in 2021 and we're still on Madden 16 engine and Madden 21.
That's what I'm saying, dude. The bugs are nuts, but like, I watch that and I'm like, the effort to get back off the floor and get your hands on it, it's a miracle that he didn't intercept it. Right?
Yeah,
I think he did it on purpose. He just wanted to get Byron Jones his first pick, so we'd all get off of his back about it. But
who's we? Hey,
go point.
Listen,
hey, I wanted him to get a pick. I get it. Byron Jones has been playing great, and I'm not going to knock him if he doesn't get a pick. But get the one, man. Just grab it.
Hey, you know the real Skip Bayless who used to love Byron Jones? I say the real one because Lewis likes to incorrectly call himself Skip Bayless.
He's going to stamp himself with that. I keep telling him that.
I don't know why, but like the real Skip Bayless, I remember he obviously a huge Cowboys fan for some odd reason, but he used to love Byron Jones up until Byron Jones left the Cowboys, and all of a sudden he hasn't got a pick, and
now he loves to point that out.
Funny?
Yeah,
it's like, come on. So like, there are things that I was really happy with, because it's like, all right, Byron Jones is a pick, but AVG, like that dude, he's just. I know a lot of people were really excited about him last year, especially. There was one player that the Dolphins didn't draft that I know a lot of Dolphins fans wanted 2 years ago.
Chase Winovich.
And they were really upset with that, and especially because he was making plays for the Patriots, and AVG was like still kind of coming along. Now I think a lot of Dolphins fans are like, all right, we still made the right choice. It's okay. Like, both players can do what they need to do, but like, I think that it's great to see him develop and continue to develop, and having guys like KVN is like great for him to be in that position.
Yep.
For sure, to learn from a lot.
Yeah. We got another player up on this.
All right, so I got 2 more, and it's going to be the stock downs. The first one I'm going to start with is just I could go probably the whole running back room, but I'm just going to focus on DeAndre Washington. This is now his second opportunity that he's had as a starter, and considerable amount of playing time. And he's just he's just not anything special. It's just more of the same. That what we have is just 2-3 yards, and maybe he'll get a 7-yarder, and that's about as much as we can hope for. He had, I believe, the Jets game too, before Myles Gaskin came back. He had the opportunity again too, and it was like, again, 13 yards, 49 yards, or 13 carries, 49 yards. This time he had 13 carries for 35 yards, so he's just not giving us too much. The good thing I think I saw before I don't know if we're going to consider this injury, but I think they just activated Myles Gaskins from COVID.
They activated Matt Breida. So. Matt Breida was the one that just came off COVID. I don't know about Gaskin.
Activated, however, I mean, I don't know. Well, we'll get into that in a second.
Breida just came off. Gaskin, I don't think not yet, since he just got it on Saturday.
All right, and then my second stock down, and I might get some slack for this, but I mean, Eric Rowe had a pretty tough game. And I understand who he was going up against. Obviously, I'm not gonna beat him over the head, because Kelsey's just. It's getting to the point where Kelsey's. If there's no injuries, I don't know how we can't call Kelsey the greatest tight end of all time. Like, I understand Gronk and the time period that he had, but for me, Kelsey, he's done it more consistently for a longer period of time. and he doesn't get hurt, man. Like, knock on wood,
Yeah.
that dude is always out there catching a touchdown, catching 2 touchdowns. And Eric really
His
struggled.
attitude is infectious as well.
Oh yeah, they love him. They love
I'm
him.
not gonna lie, I'm not a Chiefs fan, but I see him get hyped, and I'd start loving the Chiefs.
He starts
Like,
dancing.
he just gets so excited. Yeah. Didn't he have a reality show too where he was gonna try to find a girlfriend or something?
I don't
know if that was ever actually on TV, but I'd watch that. I'd straight up watch that.
Yeah. And then a lot of people would probably look at the stats and be like, oh, but Eric Rowe had 7 tackles. Yeah, because he got a lot of catches on him. Yeah. So yeah, he had to make the tackle. Yeah. And that's pretty much it for my stock report for this week, guys.
Eric Rose was it's one that I'd be surprised if a lot of people would say that Eric Rowe really had a great game. Right? He had the interception, which was nice. He had some tackles, which I'll give him this. Travis Kelce did catch the ball a lot, which was really unfortunate, especially because I think a decent amount of them were on 3rd downs, right? Where everyone else is kind of on their man. And if we get that stop, we get the ball back. But I didn't see Travis Kelce break the tackle a lot on Eric Rowe, which I will say that's pretty good, right? It's better than what I'm used to in terms of covering against tight ends, right? Because I'm used to tight ends totally decimating this team before Eric Rowe. Sure. Yeah. And a tight end with that size would just run over every defensive back on the field. So it's nice to see that he at least brought him down. But yeah, no, he had a rough one for sure. And then I saw, so Taco Bot Sports put it, the beast mode thing. Marshawn Lynch is a free agent, which we can talk about that later when we get off to like the playoff preview and stuff. I'd sign him. I'd sign him right now.
Hey,
if we're in position to get to the playoffs, he's trying to get to a contender. We'd give him the touches, and there's no way you can tell me that he's going to be any worse than what we already have.
And not for nothing, I'm more excited if he does decide to come. And I not to get too deep, but just what he would do to the rest of the running back room. Like working next to a guy like that, seeing what he sees, knowing what he knows, how long he's been in. He's played big games. He's played in Super Bowls. Like, guys can learn a lot from that type of guy.
He literally caused an earthquake. Listen, that's all I need to know. He's 34, and how old isn't Adrian Peterson around that age too?
Yeah.
And Adrian Peterson's still doing it. Lewis is not here. I'll call him out.
Damn.
But it's, we're talking about all these players, and we talk about the running backs. The running back room is a little bit decimated. So let's go ahead and jump into our next point, which is going to be all the injuries that the Dolphins are kind of facing right now. It's a really long list of injuries for the Dolphins. So 2 players that didn't participate, Mike Gesicki and Bobby McCain, both did not participate at all in practice today. Big bummer, especially to me. I think Mike Gesicki is absolutely missed. To me, the bigger miss there is Bobby McCain. I don't know how many people noticed it or not, but Bobby McCain was actually off the field for, I think, all 3 of their offensive touchdowns. I know for a fact.
I know right when he was taken out, that's when the Tyreek Hill touchdown happened, I believe.
I know he was out for the Tyreek Hill end around, right? Because it was Jedilum that tried to make the tackle after Eric Rowe missed him badly. He did not set any edge there.
Bro, good
when
call.
When Tyreek Hill got over the top, that was for Jedilum as well. I would love to take full credit for this. I kind of noticed it, but I got the confirmation listening to 3 yards per carry last night. I think it was Simon that mentioned Bobby McCain was perfect. He's a huge miss on the defensive side of the ball. So if he's not able to go this week, I don't think it's that big a deal considering it's the Patriots, and I don't think Cam Newton can throw a football more than like 15 yards accurately anymore. But later games, I think we're going to definitely need him. But other players, before we dive more into each of the individual players, Eric Flowers, limited participant with his ankle. I don't see him coming back this week. I don't know what you guys think. I don't think he'll come back. Yeah.
No. It's a miracle that he's even participating. Like, I know that we all kind of saw that injury happen. I know the second that we got back, we were all just kind of like, he's done for the year. Yeah. So it's a miracle that he's even back and practicing in any capacity.
That's true. That should have been a lot worse. Parker, hamstring limited. I think that hamstring has been bugging him since like week 1. Not enough to put him on the injury report every week, but I know it's been a hamstring since week 1. Good to see him fight through it, though.
He restrained it during the game.
Right, it is the same hamstring, right?
Yeah, I believe it is the light. Yeah.
Then you've got Kyle Van Noy also limited with his hip, and Landon Roberts also limited, but both of those look like they might come back. Excuse me. Both of them were questionable going into the game, which we all thought they were for sure out. So I'm assuming they'd play this week. And then the last one that I want to call out, everybody else notable was full participant, except for Tua. Tua was also a full participant, but he came up on the list for his ankle. I don't think he's going to miss the game or miss any time, but it is worth noting that the ankle came up because he did get rolled up on. It was some play in the red zone or near the red zone. I think an offensive lineman. Yeah, Austin Jackson kind of cleated him a little bit. Is there any player that I mentioned on this list that you think is a 100% necessity for this Sunday's game? Not thinking down the line. Think about the Patriots, the way that offense runs. Anybody here that you guys think we cannot miss this Sunday?
I think the obvious is Gesicki, but we know we're going to miss him.
Yeah.
So the second obvious there for me in terms of like just the offense, because what we saw is what we saw. Like with Tua being able to, again, as you mentioned, Michael, as Beasley mentioned, as like everyone's been mentioning, is that, you know, the stop the Tua wide receiver thing, like Tua literally played with his skill players out essentially. So getting that in and having Mike Gesicki would be great. At least, you know, he's not put on the IR yet, because if it was just as bad as we thought, maybe he would be put on the IR and it would be over. Hopefully we get to see him soon. Who knows? But like Devontae Parker, like I would love to just have, like, I know that he's limited, but like having him out of that game on Sunday, even though it should be a win, we're not, you know, we're not saying it's a cakewalk, everything like that, but having him there is just huge. I mean, it is what, like, even with the drop touchdown, even with whatever it is, like to have him on the field is huge,
right?
Like it's just, that's what it is.
Juan?
Yeah, I think for me, it's going to be Calvin Noy. And I understand what you guys are saying. Like, I'm not expecting Cam Newton to throw for 200 yards. But I have seen him run for 100, 150 on us that first game. And that's really more my concern with our defense, period, at all times, is we really struggle to stop the run. And Bill Belichick is known to always attack the one thing you're always the worst at. And that's why his teams are always good, because they're kind of like able to be flexible to where, hey, if you struggle with the pass, we could pass a little bit, or if you struggle with the run, I'm gonna beat you over the head with the run. So I think Calvin Noy is going to play a huge role whether he's there or not. Ideally, I would love to have him there, because him being back in his natural position frees up other players. Like I for one love to have AVG always on the edge. I'm not really a fan of having him always playing like in space. Like I like last game, like there was even times where like he was basically covering Travis Kelce. And as much as I love seeing that beautiful blonde hair flipping around, like it's not something I want to see him doing, chasing after Travis Kelce.
Listen, you call it beautiful blonde hair. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen that picture, that like mugshot looking like picture of AVG. I'm not gonna lie. He looks creepy, bro.
That's not his hair though. That's not the hair,
dude.
bro.
That whole picture, no, his actual team picture with like the locks and he has a serious. Listen, it's those vibes are very Northwestern. You live in a cabin kind of vibes. Listen.
Go to his Twitter, bro. You'll see. He's if he takes that next step and becomes a real nice player, he'll be right up there with Head and Shoulders, bro. You'll see him right next to Patrick Mahomes, or see him next to all
them.
Oh yeah. No, I'm sure, but it creeps me out, bro. His face creeps me out a little bit. I love the guy, but yo, smile, please. But yeah, I think I agree with you guys. I mean, obviously, I would love to have all those players back. This is one thing we didn't talk about during the Chiefs thing that I kind of wanted to touch on. And I'm just curious. It's just the what if. We can always play what if. But if this team doesn't lose the players when they do, right? If Bobby McCain doesn't go down twice and then immediately we give up 2 touchdowns, or if Parker's still in the game, or if Kyle Van Noy is there from the start, do we think this game plays out any differently?
Yeah. Like if we're specifically saying like
he's my screensaver.
Listen, dude, you have a daughter. Don't creep her out, man. Don't creep her out, bro.
Oh man, dude! Every single show that we're on, just the comment section. Like, I love the people that comment on.
That's why we try to do this live as often as we can. Man.
It's just amazing. Like if you have your team full health, especially towards that back end, like offensively. I know defensively, yeah, you were missing a lot. I think a lot of those, excuse me, a lot of those Bobby McCain situations where we missed Bobby McCain don't happen. I like it. Just the dude's meant for special teams and nothing more. Like that's just what it is. And then with like Brandon Jones, you're not gonna put him back there and to play the role that Bobby McCain is playing. And funny enough, like if we take that rewind maybe like a year back, I know a lot of us are like, all right, it's time to end the Bobby McCain at safety experiment.
Yep. I will be first to admit I was on that boat.
Yeah, like that was like where everyone's like, it's time to end it.
Recently, so nobody has any receipts. I never said it. I might have believed it, but you don't know. There's no receipts. So
and bring that back up, Manny, if you can, because that's a great point. And I know that that Taco just made, and I know that like
Jakeem catching
we
him.
all are getting on him about it, but Jakeem Grant, like he said it on Twitter and he put out that video. I'm not just a punt returner. I'm not just a kick returner. I'm going to be a wide receiver this year. And we were all excited because like, if he showed what he showed in college, like that he can catch, I'm pretty sure that he left Texas Tech with like breaking the record, like has the most receiving yards. I could be wrong. And like being able to show that like, yeah, this dude's tiny, but at the same time, he can go up and get the ball. And he had a lot of those moments, but you've seen throughout the years. Last year, Patriots game, and I think it happened again in a different game. We were getting blown out. Josh Rosen comes in for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Rosen throws probably the best ball he threw as a Dolphin, hits Jakeem Grant in the hands, and he drops it. Would have been a touchdown. Not that it really mattered, but he hit him in the hands, dropped it, would have been a touchdown. Game was over by then, but like, come on. The Tua throw, I think like that interception, I think could go on both of them. It was not the greatest throw, but at the same time, Mac Hollins showed later on in that game exactly what Jakeem Grant could have done, which is like to go attack the ball.
Up to catch the ball. It's not a punt return. It's not a punt return. You can't just sit there and try to go in. Of course you're gonna get a tap.
It's both of their fault.
He went up a little weird. He went up a little weird, Jakeem. But I'm gonna say, considering that Jakeem is shorter than all of us and none of us play any sort of professional sports, he got up there pretty well, and his arms were down. But I would argue that his arms might have been down because there was a bit of an extra arm in there holding him a little bit.
Yes.
So I think I don't blame Grant too much for that one. I blame Grant more for like the third down drop he had, right, on like what looked like just an in about 15 yards deep. There's a couple other points where I'll blame Grant for those, but that deep one with the interception, that was just an unlucky bounce when the Revs missed them.
I don't blame him 100%. I think that's a 50-50. Like it is. And Tua took his shot. Like you're going to take those. It's like the thing that we mentioned.
Tua's throw wasn't perfect either. We can all admit that. On that one, it was a little short. So listen.
Of course.
There was a free rusher, though. I'll give credit to Tua. There was a free rusher. It's about as good as you can hope. You can go ahead and finish your point, Kai.
And on top of that, like it was third down, wasn't it, Juan? And like essentially at that point, like you don't want to throw an interception, but that's a punt. Like at the end of the day, it's a punt. And like with those shots, like if you have them and you see them, you're gonna want to take them. Like no Chiefs fan can get mad at Patrick Mahomes for taking that shot to Tyreek Hill in the end zone, because you have to think that he thinks and Tyreek thinks that's gonna be a touchdown, which if not for a great play by Xavier Howard would have been a touchdown. Yep. Like there's certain things that happen like that where like you take those as a quarterback and you're gonna take your chances. And I think maybe some of Jakeem Grant's drops and some of the things that he not even some of the things, it's literally just maybe some of his drops and those reasons alone. Yeah, Tua needs to make the right read, but maybe he knows like and he sees that Jakeem is going to be open coming down that slant in the middle of the field and says, you know what? I trust that Devontae is going to come down with this ball, even though he dropped it in the back of the end zone double covered more than I do Jakeem Grant wide open in the middle of the field. That would have gone for a touchdown. Obviously, that's probably not how we think, but like, or how he thinks and how they think, but like, he just keeps dropping the ball.
Yeah.
And Mac Hollins, who's the special teams ace, as you mentioned, is making plays that a wide receiver is supposed to make more than Jakeem Grant is.
It's a weird spot, right? If we look at that last game, right? Like Jakeem, like Taco, you said it in the comments, right? Like he's our wide receiver too. He's our wide receiver too right now, but I don't think anybody in the world thinks that they're going to compete seriously in the playoffs with Jakeem Grant as your wide receiver too. I don't dislike him, but he's not a
he's wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6, punt returner.
He is great at what he does. He returns punts, returns kicks, and he takes the top off the defense. He just hasn't been able to reel it in lately. but I'm
So,
used to that. Mike
me ask
Wallace
you
couldn't
guys.
catch him. Brandon Marshall couldn't catch him.
Let-
Billy guys that we signed couldn't catch him. So hey, here we are.
Wait, by the way, I just got a follow by Brandon Marshall, so I'm pretty proud about that.
Yo, for real?
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
But
giddy as hell.
yeah. So, with Jakeem, I think I've gotten to the point where it's like I feel like we're giving him the Tannehill treatment, to where like every year is a new excuse. Every year is like, oh, but he could do it with this and that, and he can if he tried this, and he's working. And I seen him with the YouTube videos, and unfortunately, like we at some point we got to realize, we can't fit a square peg into a circle. Like it's just not gonna fit.
Sure.
And with Jakeem, I feel like a lot of times, out of necessity right now, obviously, but we try to run him as a wide receiver too. But I don't see it. I don't see him as a consistent receiver past 7 yards from the line of scrimmage. And to get back to the original question you had, Mike, I think was with injuries.
Right. Does the game end up different?
Yeah.
Right.
For me, you just look at the Landon Roberts injury and the KVN injury. What do they end up doing? Right. They end up putting linebackers who predominantly play special teams behind them as starters, and now we're lacking in special teams. What was the score? Right. 33-27, right?
Yep.
What was that's the punt return right there. So for me, it's like, yeah, we KVN might have been a big hurt, and a Landon, yeah, whatever. We could have got whatever with a Landon, but I feel like it's what happens after that. Like losing Preston, okay, now we got to move up the Jakeem, but now Jakeem can't do it. Now we have to try Lynn Bowden, and it just creates like a domino effect to where the rest of the team basically has to take the brunt of it. Like you guys were saying, I'm not even going to try to pronounce 42's name. Yeah, not even going to try that.
Right.
Yeah, not going to try that. He's not really somebody who should be out there trying to cover Tyreek Hill. Like it's a tough spot to ask him to do that. But again, that's the name of the game, especially late. You got to deal with the injuries and with the hands you're dealt.
Yeah, there's so many ifs we can pull out from that game. And honestly, in my opinion, they can go the other way too, right? Like I loved that touchdown to Gesicki, the 29-yarder. But that could have very easily been an inch or two off in any other direction. That would have been picked off as well. So, yep. I mean, I would love to sit here and say we had them, we lost the game. We got away with
the NFL. Yeah, like I know that's one of those things that Dave Damashek. Yeah, like I know that Dave Damashek does that on like the NFL YouTube and stuff like that. It's like the NFL, but like that's what it is. Like it is like if this happened, if that happened, but you know what, it didn't, and like You'll take games like that where you see that your young team, who is again way ahead of schedule, is competing with the greatest team in the NFL right now. Like, and that's just what they are.
And like I don't sweat.
Yeah. No other, and like we keep touching on that stat, and I guess it's just to like touch on this before we get into the Patriots stuff. But to touch on like the injuries and the stock report and the Chiefs review and all kind of bring it together. We're all commenting on the 3 interceptions for Patrick Mahomes. I think we can all agree that like 2 of them you would say, or maybe all 3, but like 2 of them you would definitely account to him. I think the AVG one was like a great play by him. Byron gets the interception. The other one, he threw it way too high. That that happens. And the Xavier Howard, like that. I mean, it come on. And so like
if we face them again, I wouldn't put any money on him throwing more than 1 interception.
Exactly. Like
Patrick Mahomes.
That stuff's not going to happen all the time. And you did have them, and you'll look back at that as players and coaches and fans and say, you did have them. If this happened, if that happened, if Tua, doesn't only look at Devontae Parker, and I'd love to, Juan, if you could touch on this really quick, know more about like that specific play of like, if he was going through his reads properly, because he had Jakeem wide open in the middle of the field. Like maybe if he went to that next read on that, play, he hits Jakeem and Jakeem gets a touchdown instead of 10 to 0, it's 14-0, and that's 4 points that you didn't have at the end of the day.
So my biggest thing with my bad, Mike. My biggest thing with that is like 4 weeks ago it was hey, Fitzpatrick makes those throws. Fitzpatrick will throw it up to DVP to give him a chance. Fitzpatrick will do something to where it's, hey Mike, I'm going to you no matter what. And then now we see Tua where it's like, okay, hey, I got DVP. I like him against any of their corners,
yeah,
I'm gonna throw him a jump ball.
Mhm.
He's really our jump ball, a player who we trust the most. So I can't really fault him for that.
Right.
What I will say though, and I think is what really more of your question is the progression. I think some of the plays, and going back and really looking at it a second time, I'm going to go back and look at it a third time. But some of the plays were really schemed to get certain players open. So one of the examples is with Jakeem early on in the game, he had the 18-yard catch. That was schemed because they moved Devontae all the way to the right side of the field. They ended up having a Lynn Bowden Jr. right there in the slot. He cleared it out for him, and then Jakeem just kind of snuck in underneath. So you see more of that type of stuff. And the only reason I bring it up is because that's a design play where it's only one option for him to throw it to.
Right. No,
and
that deep pass to Devontae, it's interesting too, because
if he catches it, then we don't talk about it.
And Alfredo talks about that exact play too on the yard work this week. Definitely going to try and plug that here too, considering that we brought it up naturally. He walks through it slowly and kind of explains the reads on it as well. Just kind of, that is the read you're supposed to make. It just didn't end up the way we wanted.
Right.
But
if
before
Devontae catches that, you don't get upset. And I know, sorry to kind of segue that into like the film stuff and everything like that. I know, we're trying to keep things a little bit on touch here, but that's just one of the things that's like really interesting. And then I think it does kind of bring all that together where it's like shoulda, coulda, woulda, 0-0. Let's bring out the Patriots.
Yep. And that's exactly what we have to look forward to, right? Like it was a lot of ifs. We would have loved to have had that game, especially considering the way a lot of other games played out. And we'll talk about the playoff scenarios after. But the number one thing we have to do even before we talk playoffs is handle our own business. We got to take care of the Patriots, which we didn't do in week one. Before we ask questions, I'm just going to let you guys, like my thought when we went into that week one game was we're a more talented team than the Patriots. I genuinely believe that in week one. I believe that still now. We have more talent than the Patriots do, in my opinion. And I think the Patriots won that game because they were just more prepared. They have more veteran players who knew what it was like to play in the NFL. We were throwing out about a lot of young guys. We had no idea how to stop the run. Raekwon Davis isn't now, right? Wasn't then what he is now, which is a great run stopper in the middle. But this game is big. And I think the Dolphins with their talent can put a really good job putting together a win against the Patriots. But Kai, I'll ask you, what do you think is the number one thing the Dolphins have to do to win this Sunday?
Don't let Cam get to even slightly he wasn't even passing the ball great, but don't let him get to any of the stuff that he was doing week one and thing that I'm not sure if we're allowed to say that goes on YouTube because I don't want to get the thing demonetized. But you guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And everyone listening knows what I'm talking about. Like, don't let blank Cam in terms of running the football, and especially what he did to your defense in week one, which isn't going to happen because it's a different defense now in terms of like how they're playing. But don't let that happen because I think we all know that when Cam gets some confidence, Cam can just do things that doesn't make any sense because he's just bigger than everybody else is. That's the one thing I don't want to see.
This is a different Cam in this week than week one, right? And I will give him this. He didn't have a great yards performance in that first game, but he was 15 for 19 for 155 yards. The yardage wasn't there, but he wasn't throwing incompletions, right? Like when he wanted his guy, he was getting him. So,
and to add to that, I don't think we really expected to see that type of offense. Going into that game, realistically, I'm not 100% sure, but Tom Brady's played for what, 2 decades, 20 years, something like that.
Listen, I don't remember life in football without Tom Brady, so I don't even want to talk about him.
So we had no idea what kind of offense they were going to throw out there with the Patriots, and they kind of did smack us with a little surprise. For me, my biggest key is going to be getting to a comfortable and getting comfortable early. With one thing you guys have to know with Bill Belichick is one of his, and I talked about it on Twitter a lot, is one of his pillars to success is if you get a young quarterback, you're going to throw him the kitchen sink and you're going to see how he does. You saw it with Justin Herbert. You saw it with Justin Herbert with us because we obviously are like a Patriot style team. So my thing is, as long as we can get to a comfortable, we get them a couple slants, we get them a couple early stuff going. I think we'll be fine. After that, it would be having to stop the run, and I'll keep beating that head until I have to, because that's one thing that I'm terrified. This team, we really struggle stopping the run.
We do. I think Davis is going to be a big part of stopping it now because, like I said earlier, Davis is a completely different player as well. just
Yeah,
as
he
far
didn't
down as
even
Cam
play that
Newton's
much.
come, Davis
Yeah.
has really shot up, and he's looking fantastic.
Love to
But
see
it's
it.
funny you touch on that Bill Belichick point because he is one of the, if not the smartest coach in the NFL, right? At the end of the day, you have to put him at worst top 5 smartest coaches in the NFL. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to scheme. He knows how to find a weakness and exploit it. But I think Tua's done a decent job against the kitchen sink so far, right? I think his first test against the kitchen sink probably started against the Broncos.
Yeah.
Right? The Broncos threw everything at Tua, and Tua struggled. He did. I think there was a lot of factors going on. I think, a couple of those misses early on got in his head. Those defensive 7 in the front for the Broncos were much better, but he had a pretty bad game, we'd say. They took him out. Then the next game he played again, right? They tried to throw the kitchen sink at him, and he kind of reacted a little better. He played better, right? He's kind of progressing as we go. So I think he'll do a pretty good job. But do you think that Bill Belichick is going to find something to hold back Tua that we haven't seen yet, and is really just going to make him stop in his tracks, Kai?
Bill is gonna be Bill. I just I think that's something that we can't one of the things, even though Dolphins fan, my father Giants fan, stuff like that, and so I like the Giants. It's like my second favorite team. Bill Belichick was a huge part, along with Bill Parcells, for the Giants winning the Super Bowl that they did, and just building that defense and everything like that. And I'll always have respect for Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick is going to do what Bill Belichick does. That's just what it is. I would love for Tua to just stun the world and say Bill Belichick, the rookie quarterback stopping machine was beat, because you never know, it could happen. It really could. Every Sunday is a different game. But he's gonna make Tua feel rattled. He is. It's going to happen. I think one of the things, and it was brought up in the comment section, I was kind of reading through, so it caught me off guard a little bit there. But one of the things that I saw, and I don't know if we can bring it back up, Manny, Justin Williams said, "Old man Fitz cost us that game. Him and Chan, black and white playbook." I agree that game was, lost because of Fitz on one thing and one thing alone, through 3 interceptions. And the Patriots scored 21 points. We scored 11. And I think that all of us got out of that game saying we should be 1-0. Yeah. It was we should be 1-0 right now, if not for the interceptions. And look where we are. It just, you gotta, if he can continue to hold on to the football statistically, because hey, the ones that got called back, we might like to bring them up sometimes, but guess what? They don't matter. Yeah, they don't matter. Yeah.
A year from now, everyone is going to be like, what interceptions?
Yeah. If we can hold on to the football and kind of just maybe get some sort of run game, that would be awesome. It would be, I still think that we're going to win the game. If it has to come off the backs of our defense or whatever, then that's fine. But just Bill's gonna Bill. That's just the best I can say. Absolutely. Tua, whether it's for a quarter, 2 quarters, he's gonna struggle. That's just what Bill Belichick does. I mean, he's one of the greatest defensive minds in NFL history.
Yeah. I mean, and we know we need to win this game, right? Especially for the playoff scenarios and all this stuff. So before we finish and wrap up here, Kai, what do the Dolphins need to do? What needs to break right for us to make it to the playoffs?
Okay, well, for one, I like to shout out. I'm pretty sure it was through IPC that tweeted it, and I'm super glad that they did. If I'm correct about who it was, because I've seen multiple Dolphins fans, multiple different outlets tweeting out incorrect information. So getting that information out there correctly and how it's supposed to be, chef's kiss there. Essentially, and it sucks that the Ravens didn't lose to the Browns. That was a great game on Monday Night Football. If anyone missed it,
it was a hell of
outstanding game.
I think it was Lamar Jackson's number 2 game.
I think it was Baker Mayfield bringing the Browns back and a Kareem Hunt touchdown game. I don't know what happened with Lamar Jackson. I don't know, man. Got an IV, man. Took a poo. Who knows? But essentially, 1 Ravens loss and 2 Dolphins wins, and no matter what happens in the third game, whether they win now, lose to the Raiders, and then beat the Bills, they have 2 wins. If the Ravens lose, which they had people go on the. Again, I don't want to get demonetized here for anything like that, but they had people go on the reserve list recently. It was a lot of their wide receivers, Marquise Brown being one of the biggest notable ones there. So we'll get to see what happens. I doubt that they lose this week. I believe they play the Chargers. That would be hilarious to me. But essentially, you're going to go into the week wanting to root for the Chargers as much as you might hate rooting for Justin Herbert. You want to root for the Texans as much as you want that pick to be higher. Jaguars and Lions, just because those will help along the line. Jaguars play the Ravens. Texans play the Colts. Chargers play the Raiders tomorrow. Lions play the Titans, I believe, if I'm not completely incorrect. Win out, nothing else matters. Literally, if you win out and the Ravens win out, the Ravens miss out. Literally nothing matters. So, and it's completely possible for them to win out. And literally this would be just, we wouldn't even remember talking about this. Any 2 Colts losses and any 2 Dolphins wins, the Dolphins would trump the Colts. They would finish in the 7th seed. There's some other things I believe with the Titans, but I wasn't able to like kind of get things that made sense, like enough to talk about, because it was just going to get too complicated. But essentially, like, you want to root against the Colts every week now. And if the Texans are playing a team, like if they're playing the Colts, if they're playing anyone that we can get something good from them for, as much as you would want that to be a higher draft pick, if you want to make the playoffs, you're rooting for them.
Right. So, I mean, the best part is that our own fate is in our hands for the most part.
Yes.
We went out, we're in. I think the next 3 games are winnable, right? I don't think there's any team we can't beat, and we proved that this Sunday against the Chiefs. But all that being said, look, win out, right? Play your best football, win out, you make the playoffs. Show what you've got. This is what we're made of. Let's put the defense out there. Let's see what we can get going. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was our very first episode of The Extra Yard. We're going to keep bringing this to you every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Most of them are going to be live as long as we can do it. Next week's is going to be pre-recorded. Just wanted to let you guys know that ahead of time. But we're going to try to do it live as much as possible. We're also going to try to have a bunch of guests on. So we're going to try to have Alfredo Arteaga from 3 Yards Per Carry, Jakari Givens from 5 Reasons Sports, Lewis Sung, Kylie Ray Wang, talk about sports. We're going to try to have as many people.
We got a lineup. We got lineups.
We got a lot of people we want to bring on here. We love talking football. We love being able to share our knowledge and just kind of spew whatever we can. So thank you guys again so much for watching. Make sure to follow us all on our Twitter handles. And make sure to follow the 3 Yards Per Carry account and the 5 Reasons Fins account. That's where I actually tweet out every Sunday during the game. Appreciate you guys watching, and fins up.
Fins up.
Have a great one, guys.